Many thanks for staying with us, everyone. So I told you earlier that the President Muhammadu Buhari has approved $1 billion for the procurement of arms for the military. And so what it then means is that when the governors met at the NEC meeting, you remember when the governor of Edo State, he was the one who addressed the press to say exactly the agreement. Though some governors came out to say that is not right. They're not part of it. A lot of controversy at the National Assembly. They've been talking about it. Here's some background to the story. In December last year, governors under the aegis of Governors Forum had, after the National Economic Council meeting, announced that the sum of $1 billion be withdrawn from the excess crude account to buy arms. The announcement sparked a lot of reaction, basically on the legality and justification for such amount of money, especially as the government had declared that Boko Haram had been technically defeated. There is also a growing suspicion of whether the money will be used for the purpose it is set out for. So each time I look through the section of the Nigerian Constitution that guides the issues of appropriations and spending of money, then we need some clarities. And then let's get to Abuja studio again, where Mr. Liberos Oshoma, a legal practitioner, joins us on the program tonight. Thank you, Mr. Oshoma, for your time. Give us clarity. Can the federal government spend money from the excess crude account, such as the one the president has approved tonight?
Shehu, thank you for having me. These excess crude account, or if you like, the sovereign wealth fund, had been an issue of controversy right from the time Obasanjo created it. That the matter even went as far as the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court ruled that having a different account, different from the one prescribed by Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution, was illegal. But before I go on, I would want to quickly, remind us that $1 billion at 135 naira to a dollar is 1 billion naira every day. Yeah, at 365 naira to a dollar is $1 billion every day of the year for 365 days. And so that's much money. And so there's been this back and forth that, like I said, the matter went as far as the Supreme Court. And if you remember, the first time this was announced, that last year, there were arguments back and forth that some governors said they were not part of it, they did not approve of it. And also, if you also remember, just at about this time towards 2015 general election, the then government of PDP also approved $1 billion from the same sovereign wealth fund for purchase of arms to defeat the same Boko Haram. And so also almost barely a year to election, you have the same issue, $1 billion. And so there's been this argument that even though the Supreme Court had ruled, one would have expected that there's an amendment to the Constitution on appropriation of funds. And then it clearly spelled out in Section 80, is it Section 86 and 87 now, on how funds can be appropriated by the federal government from the National Assembly. And ordinarily, if you look at the legality and desirability of sovereign wealth fund world over, from Canada to America to Russia, they've created, sovereign wealth fund as an insulator to insulate the economy from a crisis. And it's supposed to be like an investment fund where government draws for in a period of shortfall. But in the case of Nigeria, what you have is, it is not an investment kind of. It is, money, excess money from crude account that are kept separately, and government spending, as they like. And so that's why you see this argument back and forth on whether the president can approve such amount of money from, whether be it excess crude account, be it from the Federation account, without appropriation. And some people also have argued, some financial analysts have argued also, that if you allow that, what it means is that, you can keep money in excess crude account or sovereign wealth fund and bypass the constitutional provisions or the statutory provisions for appropriating for funds in the country. And that will not be too good for our constitutional democracy.
Mr. Oshoma, there are two issues there, and some other people have argued also that, look, if there are no, because if you look at Section 80, subsection 3 of the Constitution, it does state that no monies shall be withdrawn from any public fund of the Federation other than the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation unless the issue of those monies has been authorized by the Act of the National Assembly. Even all of the other subsections under the Section 80 that talks about the issues of appropriation and powers and control over public funds did mention in specifics the accounts that these monies are meant for, either Consolidated Revenue Fund or the Federation account. But the issue is that the issue of how you save the money in the first place and its backing by law is another issue entirely. But let me quickly take you to what some of these issues, some of these monies will be spent on. It is said that this money is going to be spent on the purchase of equipment. Not only that, also procuring intelligence and logistics that is required to ensure that there's a final end to the scourge of insurgency. When you mention that about a billion naira will be spent if this money is eventually disbursed in a day, are you saying it's not worth it?
You see, Shehu, it's quite unfortunate that you know, some of the things that we criticize or that this government criticized when they were in opposition are almost the same thing that they are repeating while in government today. I did say that sovereign wealth fund is desirable world over now, most especially against the backdrop of the meltdown, the international meltdown that the world experienced, you know, a few years back. But what other countries did is to tie the sovereign wealth fund to their constitutionality of their democracy. But here, what you have, if you look at, like I said, the account that you read out, Section 162 specifically mentioned that all revenues shall be, you know, deposited in the consolidated federation account. And so, to that extent, that's why also Section 80 or so also spelled out how these monies shall be appropriated. And we all know that appropriation of funds, it's a notorious fact to every Nigerian that appropriation of funds is done by the National Assembly on the request of the president. And so, that's why I took out time to explain to the layman what $1 billion means. $1 billion is 1 billion naira every day for 365 days. And you also get coupled with the fact that there's been this suspicion, there's no trust between the people and the government, against the backdrop also of, you know, allegations of corruption against both government officials and those outside government. How well has government been able to manage
Mr. Oshoma,
and the funds?
Mr. Oshoma, because we need to go now, and I need you to, in 20 seconds, tell me, if you were the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and you're confronted with the kind of security situation we're confronted with and you're to spend this kind of money, what would you do differently? In 20 seconds, please.
This is not the president is just not just coming into office. He's been confronted with this problem even before coming into office. And they've had, you know, 2 budgets, and they're even working on the 3rd one. So, and if you look at all of the 3 years budget that we have had, security had always taken a larger chunk of the budget. And even government told us that they have technically defeated Boko Haram. And so to be withdrawing $1 billion just a few days into election to fight the same Boko Haram that you technically defeated. If I were the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to address your question directly, I will not take that step. I would have long addressed this problem before now, and not to create suspicion and a situation where you're going to have so much cash flow in the system just around the corner during the election. It breached trust.
Mr. Liberous Oshoma, a legal practitioner, thank you for your time on the program today. The conversation will continue on this very, very interesting issue. We still continue to dig into what the law says. But that's our show for today. Many thanks, everyone, for being part of it. Do enjoy the rest of your evening, I'm sure.